Welcome back, everybody, to the Play by Play podcast. This is episode number 50, where today we will be looking at the recent bounce back game of Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, last night's Monday Night Football offensive competition between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Washington Commanders, and finally taking a look at the Sam Darnold comeback story and the Minnesota Vikings strong start of going 3-0. I want to thank you guys for all of your support. This is another huge milestone on the podcast, reaching 50 episodes. Let's continue to keep it rolling. I want to thank you guys for the incredible support on the past two episodes of the podcast. We have hit our highest views YouTube wise. I'm so blessed to have your guys' support. So let's keep it rolling. If you haven't already, and if you are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and share with your friends. And if you have not already, please feel free to follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All the ads will be down below, and there will be a bar popping up right here. Where on all those social medias, you will be able to see my reactions to the latest breaking news in sports, and you will also never miss any time that the podcast uploads, whether it's a main episode or a bonus clip. And before we get started, guys, I just want to say that I am feeling a little bit under the weather, a little bit sick. So my voice sounds a little bit raspy. If I take a second to cough, if I take a second to get multiple drinks of water, I do apologize. I'm trying to work through this. My voice seems a little bit low. I'm trying not to blow out my voice, but I'm trying to get this out because NFL football is here and it is alive. So without further ado, let's get through all of the quarterback news and the recent incredible quarterback stories that we've had in the NFL. The breakdown of it, the commentary of it starts right now. So let's begin in Denver, Colorado, where the Broncos finally get their first win, 26-7 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. It was beautiful. It was a great showing by the Denver Broncos. It was the performance of the team that I believed that I was going to see week one against the Seattle Seahawks. And while that performance expectation week one might have not been super realistic. You have a rookie quarterback. You have Sean Payton introducing more of his traditional offense in. You did have some key losses defensively, such as Josie Jewell in the middle of that linebacking core. I did not expect the offense to get off to as slow of a start as they had to start the season. That being said, I want to give a huge clap of hands and shout out to Sean Payton because the man adjusted. The man did a great job adjusting this offense to make his rookie quarterback much more comfortable. Bo Nix looked like the quarterback that we saw in Oregon last year at the peak of the Pac-12. The man was confident. The man was having fun. He had little to no pressure in his face. Shout out to that offensive line who did an absolutely incredible job. He was rolling out, getting outside of the pocket where he is most comfortable. I talked about in last episode that bootleg type of offense that Denver needs to bring to the table. That is where he is most comfortable, is on the run in the play action. And Sean Payton did a great job putting him in those spots, mixing it up, even at the goal line, putting him in those bootleg spots, getting him to the outside, and just being able to use that mobility and his legs. I think that is a huge underrated part of Bo Nix's game and what makes him great. And he definitely executed the game plan very well. Another thing that I like to see out of Denver from the game is just their progression throughout every single week. It's been talked about. It's not about winning games early on. It's about getting better each and every single week. And when looking at the stats, they have 100% been improving on it. The rushing game improved a ton. You start out in week one against Seattle, a little bit of a tough defense there. You go for 99 rushing yards total. Then you go to Pittsburgh, in Denver, probably an even tougher defense with a very prominent veteran head coach, Mike Tomlin. You only go for 64 rushing yards. It was even lower than the first week. But then they go ahead and they explode a little bit more for 136 against Tampa Bay. Now, don't get me wrong. That is not enough. They still need to keep this running game going and improving it and continue to get the upwards of 180, 190, getting into that 200-yard gain over the course of their running backs, because that's what the best offenses are executing right now. But when you can get to the point of 136, about 150 rushing yards, We've talked about it so many times on this channel. It opens up the pass game so much more, especially when you're going to the bootleg, especially when you're going to the play action a lot. It makes your offense much more unpredictable. And that's what you saw. Tampa Bay just was not sure what Denver was going to run on a play-to-play basis because they had a difficult time stopping the run. And then when Bo Nix would throw, he was very, very accurate and did a great job throwing the ball. Another thing that I like to see, and this was one thing that I was also hampering Sean Payton about, is the fact that they needed to extend the field more. In the game against Seattle, they averaged 3 yards per passing attempt. My apologies. Um, we talked about this all season, the Sean Payton offense, the ability of Bo Nix to get the ball out very, very quickly and get easy yardage, and that's great. But a lot of people thought that it was going to be a lot more effective. A lot of people thought that Denver was going to be able to be successful throwing these 3 to 4 yard in, out, flat routes, getting down the field. And that's just not very realistic in the NFL. It's very difficult to put together 10, 15, 20 play drives, going for 3 to 4 yards a game and keeping that consistently and getting third downs consistently, and then obviously executing in the red zone. When you go to that type of strategy, when you're in that 3 to 4 yard type of margin, you're basically putting yourself within the red zone. Every NFL team says the red zone is the toughest part of football because it shortens the amount that you have to work with. The secondary can then cave in. They're not worried about the deep pass whatsoever. They can play more press man. They can blitz you a lot easier. The red zone is very, very difficult because it is a tight, cramped space. And when you're in this 3 to 4 yard margin, you're keeping yourself there. And that's what I think we saw Pittsburgh do a great job of is they had great pass rushers on their side, and they did not believe that Denver could execute throwing the ball downfield consistently. So they moved that pressure up. They pressed their corners. They got up in Denver's face. They got into Bo Nix's grill, and they made him super duper uncomfortable. But what you've seen from Denver is, again, they've continued to progress. 3 yards against Seattle. Then against Pittsburgh, they were able to progress to 5 yards per passing attempt. And then against Tampa Bay, they were able to get up into that 6 yard per passing attempt margin. Now, I know that is very, very small of a margin. We're talking about just one, two, three potentially yards of improvement each and every single game. But those 1 to 2 yards mean a lot. It is the difference between Bo Nix having pressure in his face, having to deal with the secondary pressing up on his receivers, and making just a very congested and anxious environment to him spreading out the field and being able to use that fast twitch, that ability to get the ball out quick within that medium to deep margin because he executed that so well. I can't tell you how many times Denver ran a 5 to 8 yard curl route to the outside, maybe even a comeback route to the outside against Tampa Bay. And he executed it every single time because he was able to get the ball out before the receiver even started to turn. So by the time the receiver turned around, boom, the ball is in your face. You have to catch it. They turn around and they get some extra yardage. It was great from Denver, and not even just from the offensive side. The defense was great too. The pass rush was incredible. It is something that the Denver Broncos have been lacking for the past couple of years. It's just the inability to rush the quarterback. Zach Allen has been playing with an incredible amount of energy. You obviously had DJ Jones, who has been the anchor of that defensive line for the past couple of years. Donovan Peoples-Jones coming in here from New York, he has put in a big help. And then obviously the outside linebacking core has been incredible. It's been incredible for Denver ever since I can remember, ever since 2011. They have always made it a priority to put talent in that outside linebacker spot. But now that they put talent onto that defensive line. Again, we talked about this in time with Bryce Young and the pressure that he's had to face. When you have pressure all around on that defensive line, when you have pressure on the outside, what it allows you to do is it almost allows you to create this circle that slowly constricts and slowly closes in on the quarterback. And once again, like we talked about, it creates that congested environment. It creates that anxious environment. And it makes it a lot easier to stop the run as well because you can stop people going up the middle. Not only can you restrict them from the outside using your outside linebacking core, but also on the inside, you can stuff that inside run time and time and time again. And when you can't run the ball, like Denver knows, like the Buccaneers got to know on Sunday, only rushing for 91 yards, it is demoralizing and it gets really, really difficult to continue to get your offense firing. And they did a great job stopping the run, pressuring Baker Mayfield, making that anxious environment for him, and just making things so difficult. Sean Payton adjusted, Bo Nix adjusted. He looks like the quarterback from Oregon. This is just baby steps, so we have to look forward. I think he took a big step this week, but now the question is, can he do it again? You're on the road again against a tough New York defense next week with the arguably the best cornerback in football in Sauce Gardner, a solid linebacking core, the fourth straight defensive coach in Robert Saleh, somebody who brings youth, somebody who brings energy to that defense. Can you do that again? If he can, Denver has a very bright future. That's not to say that they're going to go on and win 9, 10, 11 games, 12 games, and make the playoffs and potentially compete to win the division. No. But can they break even? Can they get to the 7, 8? We talked about 9 win without making the playoffs. Can they get within that margin? If Bo Nix is able to continue to perform, I think you have an opportunity. Because if you're able to take down New York after this, you have Las Vegas after that. That's a winnable game against a quarterback in Gardner Minshew that has not been performing well. There have been talks about a quarterback change possibly going on there. You have the Saints. I get it. Another defensive coach. They've looked solid. But against Philadelphia, against a pretty solid defense and against an offense that was actually able to match their firepower, they looked very limited. They looked very, very limited. You have Carolina after that. Obviously, Andy Dalton has made that look like a much better situation. But who knows if the consistency is able to keep up there. You have Las Vegas again. You have Cleveland, who's looked like a mess. You have Indianapolis on the schedule. You have Cincinnati, who we'll talk about a little bit later, who started off 0-3. The confidence is really down. That's more towards the end of the season, so we'll have to see how they rebound. But you do have some winnable games against winnable teams this season. So I think the move for Denver is just continue to build confidence, continue to build around Nix, and continue to play towards his strength. Allow him to use his mobility, allow him to continue to get confident, allow him to survey the pocket. That's what he did so great, is his ability to survey the pocket, to keep calm and confident under pressure, the ability to read the pressure from behind in his blind spot to get out of harm's way. There was a play, I believe it was about the third quarter, where he got surrounded by three different Buccaneers. You think, oh God, he's about to get sacked. I believe he was about to throw the ball, about to force a fumble. And he's able to get out of that and turn it into like a 15, 20-yard run. That's what he does best. The smarts, the intelligence that Sean Payton talked about on draft night, that is what makes Bo Nix a great quarterback. So continue to stick with that. Don't restrict yourself into a short passing game. Continue to extend the field because we've seen Bo Nix does have the ability to extend the ball downfield and throw deep passes. So continue to increase your yards attempt per pass. Continue to enforce your run game. Maybe take some carries away from Javonte Williams. I think it's clear now that he does not have that second motor now coming off of injury. Begin to feed more into Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Body. Feed behind what looks like a great offensive line right now, behind who, in my opinion, should be looked at as one of the best offensive linemen in football right now. And Quinn Miners, you can call me biased. Go ahead. I'm not going to get mad at you for it, but just continue to advance your yards per play, your yards attempt per play, and continue to keep confidence in Bo Nix because as long as he's performing well, this offense looks like it has some real, real firepower in an AFC conference that we already know how fiery offenses can get, especially down the stretch of season against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Moving on, we go to last night's Monday Night Football matchup between the Washington Commanders and the Cincinnati Bengals, where the Commanders were able to pull out a victory, going 2-1 now, a winning season for the Commanders. That's pretty new, 38-33 over the Cincinnati Bengals, and just starting on Cincinnati, 0-3 now to start the season. It looks like a defeated Bengals team. It looks like a Bengals team that just 3 years ago we saw making the Super Bowl. is obviously not the same. It looks like a Bengals team that is deflated. It looks like a Bengals team to where there could potentially be some huge changes next year, whether it's in the coaching staff, whether it's in the receiving core, letting people go, whether it's defensively. This is a Cincinnati Bengals team that is slowly but surely slipping down the mountain. And for Cincinnati Bengals fans out there, I ask, what did you expect? What did you really expect? It is the same story year after year after year after year for the Cincinnati Bengals. And you thought that it would be a change of scenery, right? You thought it would be a change of pace. Boom, you defeat the best quarterback in football, and Patrick Mahomes, in the AFC Championship. You go on to be super competitive, arguably be one play away to winning a Super Bowl. You would think that ownership would wake up and start to think that they need to start funding this machine. And they haven't. They just haven't. And it's super, super disappointing just from an NFL standpoint base because this should have been a roster that should have gone to consecutive Super Bowls. This should have been a roster that should have at least been competing, going to multiple consecutive AFC championships, at least competing for multiple consecutive Super Bowls. And year after year since that Super Bowl run, it has gone flatter and flatter and flatter. And the stinginess of the Cincinnati Bengals front office has been what has cost them. Look around the league. Look around the league. Look back in NFL history. The best teams, you have not seen Cincinnati at the top in NFL history for a very long time. And there's a good reason for that. Take a look at NFL history. Take a look at the current teams right now. The current teams right now are willing to dip into their pockets. The great teams in NFL history were willing to dip into their pockets. The current teams, the previous historic teams were willing to take risks. I go back to my Denver Broncos so much back into the 2010s. Look at them. They won the wild card playoff with Tim Tebow against what was a very, very solid Pittsburgh Steelers team. You get blown out by the New England Patriots the following round in the divisional round. They took a look at Tim Tebow and they go, the guy has great energy. The guy was incredible in college. The guy can clearly lead us to a 9-10 game win season and potentially win us a playoff game, but he is not the future of this team. This is a talented team that we have. We need to move on it. So they go out and they get a 35-year-old Peyton Manning who had had injury problems, who a lot of people had given up on. Boom, he goes off for 50 touchdowns. They look around at Peyton Manning and they go, we have the sheriff in town. We need to surround him with some solid weapons. I can't even tell you all of the incredible weapons that Peyton Manning had around him in his time in Denver because the Broncos went out and got them year after year. Whether it was drafting Demaryius Thomas, whether it was signing Emmanuel Sanders, signing Wes Welker away from the New England Patriots, drafting Eric Decker. They always had a pretty solid role-playing running back in the backfield, an okay offensive line. Defensively, having an incredible pass rush between getting an aging veteran DeMarcus Ware, drafting Von Miller, drafting Chris Harris, signing what a lot of people thought was a washed away TJ Ward and Aqib Talib, signing away Darren Stewart. They continued to make moves, and that was the reason why throughout the 2010s you saw them making the AFC Championship almost every single year. You saw them making the Super Bowl twice and winning it once because it was about their team, it was about their organization, it was about the community, it was about bringing a championship to Denver. And no matter the risk, no matter the price that we have to pay, we're going to do it. I take a look at the San Francisco 49ers right now, which is a team that I don't know how it is mathematically possible how they are within the salary cap with all their stars that they have. Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. Sure, you have Brock Purdy on a rookie contract. I understand that. One of the best offensive linemen in football in Trent Williams. You have Nick Bosa on the other side, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Telefonga in the secondary. They have so many stars, and they have not given up on this group because they know that they are talented, that they are special, and they need to continue to create chemistry within them for years and years to come for them to be able to compete. And that's why you have seen from 2020 onwards, they have made 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls. Because once again, This organization cares about the franchise and the success of it. Now, revert. Take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals. What have they done? Since their Super Bowl run in 2021, what have they done? I'll tell you what I saw out of the Los Angeles Rams. I saw them sign trade for an aging Von Miller, re-sign Aaron Donald, sign Leonard Floyd, trade your franchise quarterback in Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, sign Cooper Kupp, sign Odell Beckham to win that championship. What have the Cincinnati Bengals done? They haven't improved this offensive line. They traded away Joe Mixon to the Houston Texans, who now is having one of the best starts to his career, starts the season in his career. They have time and time again just been completely stubborn with re-signing their top weapons, even though Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receivers in football right now, even though T. Higgins is one of the best number twos in football right now. They have continued to be stingy with giving out money. They have not signed really anybody to this defense. Trey Hendrickson is still your top pass rusher. There's nobody else. You still continue to have role playing cornerbacks in your secondary. Let's take a look at this right here. Let's pull up this depth chart with the Cincinnati Bengals with this cornerback list. You continue Von Bell, Mike Hilton, Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, Jermaine Pratt is still in the inside of that linebacking core. These are the same guys that we have seen for the past 4 years, and it is clearly not working. It is clearly not getting them anywhere. In order to be a great team, you have to be able to add on pieces and continue with your momentum. That is what keeps momentum going within football organizations is is the excitement of new fresh players coming in, of great talented players coming in. Not seeing the same role playing Mike Hilton as your number one cornerback having to go up against the top wide receivers in the league. Not hearing that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase get to practice 20, 25 minutes late, still in their hoodies, not even dressed, and your head coach is there at the press conference saying, well, I don't even know if they're going to be playing week one. I don't even know if they're practicing today. That is not how a competent and a successful NFL organization runs their franchise. And when you look at the basis of this game, I mean, they really didn't even play that bad. Joe Burrow threw for 324 yards. Jamar Chase, he had 118 yards receiving. You scored 33 points on the board. Chase Brown had 62 rushing yards within just 7 carries. Obviously, you'd like to see more, but there was still stuff going there. They went 6 for 10 on third down. They got 2 sacks within the entire game. They only committed 3 penalties within the entire game. They had a pretty even time of possession with the Commanders. They only got outpossessed by 7 minutes. They put up a very, very solid performance last night, but yet they still got outplayed by a team that is clearly in a rebuild. And I'll tell you why. We just talked about energy. The Commanders had energy last night. Let's move to Washington. They had energy. The offense, despite having a lack of weapons, looked rejuvenated. Jaden Daniels looked like Robert Griffin III from his rookie season. I mean, he looked incredible. And the ability that he has on a play-to-play basis to turn dead plays into positive yardage, I don't believe I've ever seen anything like that. Sure, we see Patrick Mahomes making some incredible plays, side-arming, behind-the-back passes, but the ability consistently to evade pressure and to even just get 2 to 3 yards while using his legs, it blows my mind. He had a great job hitting the deep ball last night. Him and Terry McLaurin look like they are forming a great, great connection. The running game continues to be pretty consistent. They only had 108 rushing yards last night, and a lot of that was from Jane Daniels. So you, of course, want to pick that up to bring unpredictableness to your offense. But this is an offense that is being led by head coach Dan Quinn, and kudos to him because him giving over the reins to Cliff Kingsbury, it has worked, and the energy has just brought, and the confidence from Jane Daniels has been the spearhead of that. A 4th and 4 at the end of the game, and him yelling over at the sideline, "Hey, Let's take a chance. Let's go for it. Let's get this first down. Let's end this game right here and there. That is how you are going to be successful. Taking risks, wanting to rejuvenate your franchise, putting energy into it. A Washington team that has not been successful in years, who made the playoffs in 2020, won their division in 2020 by having an average season, and yet here they are in a rebuilding year, 2-1. Yes, I understand. It is only 3 games, the first 3 games of the year, but man, do they look good. Man, does the passing game look great. Man, does Jane Daniels look like the best rookie out of the 3 that are starting right now by far. It doesn't even look like he's had to take baby steps. He has just shot off. And like I said, comparisons to RG3, I think that's pretty warranted, just based off the rookie season. Their ability to scramble, to get out, to evade pressure, their ability to hit the deep ball down low, to make electric plays consistently, their calm and collectedness within the red zone at the goal line, to be able to finish drives. It's there. And to go head to head with one of the best quarterbacks in football in Joe Burrow last night, with an offense that, again, is really headlined by one main weapon in Terry McLaurin, that took guts. That took balls. And Jane Daniels right now looks like the answer to all of Washington's issues. He looks great. Cliff Kingsbury looks great. Dan Quinn looks like a great motivator. He is rallying this defense around. You want to get those points per game against opposing teams down, obviously. But when you're facing one of the best quarterbacks in football, it's obviously going to be really, really difficult to do that. This Washington Commanders team looks fresh. They look energized. They look confident. They look like they want to win. And that is a scary sight, especially if you're teams such as New York, who have not improved over the past 4 to 5 years. If you're a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who are aging, who are beginning to slip down that mountain. Right now, the way the two teams have looked, I would take this Washington team over Dallas easily. Easily, I would. That they look great offensively. Their ability to just move the ball at will, to not have anything negative happen, man, it looks special. It looks special. I hope they continue to progress it, and they can. They have the Cardinals next this following week. You have Cleveland after that. Then you have to go on against a pretty difficult test in Baltimore. But then you have Carolina after that. You have the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams still developing. You have the New York Giants. There are a lot of winnable games on this schedule. The Tennessee Titans later in the year, the New Orleans Saints, if they're able to slip up a little bit, you have some promising winnable games. The Washington Commanders could potentially have a winning season this year. They could potentially make the playoffs behind a rookie quarterback, behind a brand new head coach, behind a brand new offensive coordinator. They look good. The defense needs to get better, but the offense looks great, and they have a potential to be special. And finally, we end this episode off from moving from the nation's capital all the way to snowy Minnesota, where we have another team that looks new, that looks innovative, that looks energized, that looks refreshed in the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is playing the best ball of his career. Sam Darnold looks like the quarterback that he was supposed to be when he was drafted top 5 in 2018 by the New York Jets. Sam Darnold looks like the truth. Now, again, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. It's only 3 games. I understand. I understand that one of those games was against a terrible New York Giants team. I understand that. But put this into consideration. Within 3 weeks with the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold has been able to score half of the amount of touchdowns with 8 that he had in his 2018 season with the New York Jets. Sam Darnold's touchdown to interception ratio is by far better than anything he has had in his career. Sam Darnold has an 117.3 passer rating, which is 25 points above his best performance, which was in a 6-game played season in 2022 with the Carolina Panthers. And he did it this past Sunday against a Houston Texans team who has arguably, in my opinion, one of the best defensive coaches in football. In my opinion, undoubtedly the best young coach in football, against an offense that has shown sure firepower in previous weeks, he dominated them. He dominated them easily. Now, there were some mistakes here and there. There were some bad decisions, but the thing that has always attracted people about Sam Darnold is is the prototype that he is. It is that gunslinger type of mentality where he wants to take risks, he wants to sling it out, he wants to fit the ball into tight spaces. But the issue about it is he hasn't had the coaching and he has not had the talent around him to be able to make these throws. You look at these plays and you say, "Wow, Justin Jefferson really saved him there." Well, that is the point of the receiver. Sam Darnold is getting it to the right spot. He if you look at his tape in New York, he gets it to the right spot to his receivers there too. But the difference is you're not throwing to Robbie Anderson anymore. You're throwing to arguably the best receiver in football, and he's making these grabs. Sam Darnold is putting these right on the money. They might not look great. They might look really ugly. You might look at them and go, "Ooh, that was a tough throw. That was probably a really bad decision." But the talent around you, they're able to make it work. Now, obviously, you want to see him continue this, but man, if I don't have a lot to complain about here. 68% completion percentage, like I talked about, 170.3 passer rating. When you look at the man is over 50% on his on target percentage. Now, granted, when you look at the numbers year by year, he has had better on target percentages. And I think that this shows his ability, his talent, his greatness. A 75.2% on target percentage in 2019. In 2020, it was 71.8. In 2021, it was back up to 75. In 2022, it was 78, nearly 80% of on target percentage. But what kept happening? Look at this. In 2019, 25 drops from his receivers. In 2021, 27. In 2022, 7 drops. What has he had in 2024? Zero. Zero. Zero drops. So while the on target percentage is lower, while he may not on paper look as accurate as he's been, it's because he's taking more risks. It's because he is making more bad throws, but with 0 drops, he's continuing to make the plays, and defenses can't figure it out, and the deep ball looks great. The arm looks great. He is on point. When Justin Jefferson runs that 20-plus yard drag route across the field, nobody can stop it, and Kevin O'Connell really looks like he has found his quarterback. If I'm JJ McCarthy right now, I'm sweating in my boots because Darnold was supposed to be a transition quarterback. But I think what people were missing about him is obviously number one, like we mentioned, the lack of weapons, but also the fact that this is a man for the past year has been with the San Francisco 49ers. This is a guy who has not only backed up a very solid quarterback in Brock Purdy, but has faced arguably the best defense in football in practice every single day for the past year. And so I think he's looking at Houston, he's looking at New York, and he's going, "Man, this is nothing. This is nothing." Now, granted, Minnesota needs to continue to protect him better. He has gotten sacked 8 times in 3 games. He is on pace to break the record in his career for sacks. I believe it is. Let me check this out real quick. It is 35 in his career through 14 games, by the way, through 12 games. I apologize. They already have 8 in 3 games. So they do need to do a better job protecting him, but the weapons are really helping him out. Their ability to run the ball. Aaron Jones looks like he has not lost a step. We've talked about him, continuing to take steps back every single year of his career. He looks solid, especially getting up there in his 30s. He looks great. And once again, it is making this offense much more unpredictable. Now, looking ahead for them, obviously, you still have to be on guard. This is a very, very tough division. They face the Packers this week. That will be a huge test to see where they match up against the top players in their division. You then go up against a tough New York Jets defense the following. You go up against the Detroit Lions after that. You go after a tough defense in the Rams following that. Later in the season, you have to face the Bears, who will be a lot more developed. You have to go up against the Bears twice, actually. Packers again, Lions again, the Seahawks, who have a defensive head coach. So we are really going to get a solid gauge over these next 3 weeks of, is Sam Darnold really back? Has he made this comeback? Because We've talked about it. When he was in Carolina, he looked great those first 4 or 5 weeks going up against weak teams. But then once he went up against very, very stiff competition, he faltered. Now, granted, he's already gone up against stiff competition. He's faced San Francisco, he's faced Houston, but to go from San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, Jets, and the Lions back to back to back to back to back, that is really going to show how consistent he can be on a game to game basis. If he can take this, he is 2-0 right now against very tough teams. If he can go up in these next 3 games and win 2 out of 3 of them and look good, the Vikings might have their man. The Vikings might have their man going forward. And his ability to sling the ball, his ability, once again, we talked about with Bo Nix, his ability to get outside of that pocket very easily, especially in the red zone. He looks comfortable. He doesn't look scared anymore. He doesn't look anxious. And it is because you don't have Adam Gase in your headset. It's because you don't have a terrible offensive line anymore. Although the Minnesota Vikings offensive line has been pretty average, it is because you do not have your number one receiver only being Robbie Anderson. It is because you do not have a terrible backfield anymore. Sam Darnold is slinging the rock, and it is working in Minnesota. And I cannot wait to see what goes on these next 3 weeks and to see if he continues to be consistent and win games for this team. And that's all from me today, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for all the support. I'm having so much fun uploading these episodes for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about the recent quarterback. Let me know what you think about Bo Nix's performance. Let me know what you think about Jaden Daniels' performance. Let me know what you think about the Cincinnati Bengals and them failing their organization. And finally, let me know what you think about the hot start that Sam Darnold has. Can he continue it? Is Sam Darnold a real quarterback in the NFL, or is this just once again a solid start to a season that is going to falter going down the road? We'll have to see. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like down below, comment, and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, please feel free to follow us on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All the ads are going to be down below, and there will be a bar popping up right here. Thank you guys once again for so much of your support. Episode 50. Let's keep it rolling. Let's get to 100. And with that, guys, I will see you on the next one. Peace.